I've got a question. What the f is this? All right, this is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This is apparently not. This suspiciously familiar looking camera is called the XTRA Muse. We're going to talk about it today. So super briefly, this is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. If you already know about this camera, then you've been on planet Earth for the last couple of years. But if you're not familiar with the Pocket 3, let me give you just a real quick rundown. So this camera kind of took the world by storm about 2 years ago when DJI put it out. It is the third iteration of the Pocket. It's definitely a really powerful vlogging camera because, well, it's got a gimbal on top. And that really made this a game changer. Plus it has a tiny little monitor on here, shoots in 4K. It has a ton of really powerful features on here, like the ability to shoot in D-Log-M, which is a log-like footage. It shoots in slow motion up to 240 frames per second in 1080 or 120 frames per second in 4K. It's got a 1-inch CMOS sensor, so it really has incredible performance in low light. Plus it has a low light mode that makes it even more powerful. I could go on and on and on. But the truth is, this has been a very unique camera for the fact that it's the only one like this. Yeah, there are a couple pretty bad clunky wannabes, but that's not even really close. Now, enter the XTRA Muse. So this camera is pretty much an identical replica of the DJI Pocket 3 in almost a suspicious way. And here's the weird thing. I haven't found really anybody talking about this camera. So I have some thoughts, and I definitely want to do a side-by-side comparison of these two cameras in this video. But honestly, the more time I've spent with this camera, I'm half convinced that DJI actually made this thing. But I'll get more into that in this video. So before we really dive into comparing these cameras, let me just show you what this camera actually came with. So again, this is called the XTRA, with an X, XTRA Muse. And this is what they're calling the standard bundle. I did a little bit of research and I'm not finding any other bundles available, but maybe they plan to make some more in the future. Now, full disclosure, I was sent this camera by the brand to do an honest review for you. So let's just keep that in mind as we go through this. But I want to talk about what this actually comes with. First thing I want to point out before I even crack this little bag open that it comes with, this honestly looks suspiciously a lot like the DJI Mic Mini bag that I got. I'm just saying, I'm not ready to get the tinfoil hat out just yet, but these are pretty similar. Pretty much the same material and the same stitch pattern, so I don't know. I digress. What's in the bag? You get the little carrying bag. So as you might imagine, you're gonna get one of these little extension handles or base handle that is gonna give you a 1/4 thread. If you know the Pocket 3, this looks familiar. So you can put that little guy on here just like you would if you had the Pocket 3. You've probably done that before. You know what that looks like. The only difference is there's this kind of, I don't know what you call that, a turquoise color that is carried throughout this. And there's kind of a little bit of a pattern on the back of this that's unique. Not the same sort of diagonal lines on the Pocket 3. A little bit different, but I don't know if that's supposed to throw you off the scent, but I'm tracking. So it's good that you get that. You're gonna need that for sure. They give you, of course, a charging cable, and then they give you this little lanyard handle. Now, maybe they'll eventually have something akin to the Creator Combo, but for now, this is pretty good. And also, to be honest with you, if this were a no-name brand, which it appears to be, this is a very nice box. So yeah, let's set that aside for now, and let's talk about the form factor between these two cameras, because I really want you to see side by side. Is this a really great clone, or is this DJI doing something a little bit undercover? So you'll see side by side, these things look pretty much identical. Obviously, it's a little bit different color in some places and a slightly different pattern, you know, when you turn it around to the back. But let's be honest, this is basically a colorway. Of course, on the bottom, they look the same with the charger input. Now, just a side note, I've got a ton of accessories, thankfully, because I've had the Pocket 3 for a couple of years now. So I've got these things pretty much outfitted, each with a cool expansion adapter that each have a little stand that's a magnetic mount as well. But the main point being that all the accessories that work for the Pocket 3 definitely work on this camera. I'm telling you, these things feel exactly the same when they're in your hands. But anyway, I'll put a couple links in the description for those accessories, along with both of these cameras. You know the deal, they're affiliate links. If you pick something up, I may earn a small commission, but it's a great way to support the channel, and I certainly appreciate it. You'll notice when I power these things up, they open up exactly the same. Yeah, there's a slight delay you might notice with that XTRA Muse when it comes to the gimbal turning all the way around when you turn it on. But when you shut them down, in my opinion, they're pretty much identical. I would say personally, that's probably within the margin of error, or what would be an acceptable tolerance, even if these were both official Pocket 3s, but you be the judge. I do think it's cool when you shut these down, they're basically little synchronized dancers. All right, so obviously those of you who have the Pocket 3, you're familiar with the layout, but those of you who don't, let's do a quick run through. So you swipe up from the bottom, you're gonna see you can shoot in either 4K, 2.7K, or 1080, and you can shoot anywhere from 24 frames per second all the way up to 60 frames per second in this standard video mode. Now, the bottom left, just tap on that. That's gonna bring up all the different modes in the camera. You got a couple areas for saved settings. You can shoot panoramic photos, standard video mode, low light mode, slow motion, and then you've also got a motion lapse or time lapse. Now, if you swipe in from the right side, you're gonna see all of these settings where you've got exposure, you can set between auto or manual, and you can change the exposure compensation, or you can change the ISO into a specific number or a range. You can set the white balance to a static white balance, or you can set it to auto. They've got these funky glamour effects that I never use, but you know, they are fun for some. And then you've got a few color modes. So you've got the normal color mode, HLG, and then you've got a D-Log M. You've got the breathing compensation, you've got focus mode, either continuous or single, and you also have a product showcase, which is nice. And then you have some image adjustments that you can make either custom or just leave it to default. From the top, if you swipe down, you've got a variety of different settings, but let me just point out a couple of key settings here. On this Pocket 3, the bottom right is going to be the gimbal modes. You can swipe through from follow, tilt lock, FPV, and another FPV mode. You also have a gimbal speed, or the rotational speed. So this you can set to default, or you've got slow or fast. And on the top right, you've got a selfie on or off, basically whether or not it decides to actively track your face when you put it in selfie mode. All right, so let's look at the XTRA Muse, see what it looks like. So when you fire this thing up, you're just gonna notice right away that the setup is exactly the same on the screen. Now there's a slightly different font, which is kind of funny, and you'll notice a little bit of different colors on here, but otherwise it's kind of alarmingly close. So swipe up from the bottom. Again, you're gonna see the same 4K, 2.7K, and 1080. You've got the 24 all the way to 60 frames per second. That bottom left, if you tap on it, you can switch between video. Now they've got some sort of neon green, which is actually kind of cool looking, and you can do all of the same modes we just talked about on the Pocket 3. Literally exactly the same. If you swipe in from the right, you're gonna see again the white balance selections, the exposure selections, both exactly the same as the Pocket 3. You've got 3 color modes. You're gonna notice, of course, you've got the normal, HLG, and you've got X-Log, because that sounds real different. You got the same focus modes, same breathing compensation, and the same options for your image adjustments. Now, dropping down from the top, you're gonna notice that these little symbols, they're slightly different, and they're a little bit rearranged, but they're the same buttons. Of course, you got your gimbal modes, still got that kind of neon green, which I've grown to like, honestly, more than the Pocket 3. Sorry, buddy. But the exact same modes. Same options for your rotational speed. And if you look at the bottom left, you've got that little selfie turned on or off. And it won't bore you with the rest of the settings, but I don't know, getting a little more weirded out. All right, so let's talk about the actual quality of the footage with these cameras. So to test these, I took these to an upcoming listing that I have. Some of you may know that I'm also a real estate agent, so I figured it'd be a good place to test these cameras out. Now, when testing these, I shot these in normal color mode. I also shot them in their respective log modes. And by the way, I did make sure that I shot these in exactly the same settings. So in this video, I either shot them in 4K 30 or 4K 60, both set to auto white balance, auto exposure, ISO range from 50 to 3200, exposure compensation set to -0.3. Image adjustments, I set them to -1 for sharpness, 0 noise reduction. But how close are they? Let's take a look. Okay, so this right here is the Osmo Pocket 3 in normal color. All right, now this is the XTRA Muse, also in normal color mode, straight out of camera. Now, if I'm doing just a straight comparison of these, I'd say they're very, very similar. I'd say there is a slight difference in the white balance, specifically with the XTRA Muse. Seems like the tint is slightly leaning a little bit towards magenta, but it's very subtle. When going in to try to match these, it was so subtle that really kind of just nudging the slider to the left towards the green, maybe 0.5 or 1, was enough to get it pretty right on. Now, the only other thing I noticed is that in some of these shots, it seems like the saturation in the XTRA Muse is just a little bit lower, but I'm talking very minuscule. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I would say these minor little discrepancies are probably what I would consider within the tolerance or the margin of error if these were even the same cameras. Now, you guys let me know what you think in the comments, but so far, I'm thinking these things are pretty close. So let's look at the log footage on these cameras. This is the Osmo Pocket 3 shot in log, just a little bit of color grading. This one is with the XTRA Muse in X-Log, and the exact same color grading. And again, very, very similar. These both look incredible. All right, so when I got home later that day, I realized there was something I should have tried, so I decided to go check out the ActiveTrack on both these cameras. Because honestly, I was really curious how closely this was gonna perform. And for this, instead of just explain it to you while the footage is going, I'll just let you watch it. But just FYI, I do have the Pocket 3 on your right, and the XTRA Muse is on your left, and that's because I wanted to keep them true to the perspective they were at when I was filming. Sorry to my fellow OCD family out there. All right, so I just found a little metal fencing here and put these side by side just to test how the ActiveTrack works. And what's crazy is these are moving very much at the exact same speed. I can't wait to put these side by side and test these out, but it's like the gimbal head speed is identical. And I'm just not sure how you could pull off that exact precise technology without being something a little bit suspicious going on. But hey, what do I know? It is a little suspicious. I mean, am I right? Okay, so obviously we've talked about a lot of similarities, and there are a lot of them, but what are some of the differences? Well, there are two noticeable differences that I've noticed so far, and you know, there may be more, but these are the only two that I've noticed really to this point. The first one is that there does not appear to be a way to connect a wireless mic to this. Now, you can connect something like the DJI Mic 1 or anything with a Type-C input. You can use those like normal. And interestingly, it will have the little green bar across the top to let you know there's a mic connected. But I definitely fired up my DJI Mic Mini and also my DJI Mic 2, just the transmitters, to see if they would connect, and they didn't. And I honestly halfway thought they might. And another thing to point out in terms of differences, it's definitely worth noting, is when you buy the Pocket 3, we know that it's a reputable company, so that obviously comes with risks. And you know, to be honest with you, it's probably important to tell you the price. This little standard bundle for this XTRA Muse is currently priced at $599. Now, I'll be honest, it's every bit worth it just in terms of its capability from everything I've seen so far. This performs exactly like the Pocket 3 from every test that I've done. But when you can get the DJI Pocket 3 for anywhere between $600 and $700 as it is, that kind of leaves me with the question of, is it worth taking that risk? I don't know, I'll let you decide. So again, I said this a little bit earlier, but it's a little bit strange nobody is even really covering this camera. Now, at least at the time I'm filming this. Maybe by the time I drop this, it's all over the internet. But let me grab something real quick. So here I am putting on my tinfoil hat because this is just far too close to the DJI Pocket 3 for me to believe anything else. You might think I'm crazy, some wild conspiracy, but let's talk about why would DJI even consider doing this? Well, I won't get into the politics of it, but there has definitely been US pressure for government bans on DJI products, starting with the drones, but who knows, that may spread to all of their products, and I wouldn't put it past DJI to maybe start making some plans. There's also tariffs, and maybe that comes with threat of import restrictions, and let's be honest, a shadow brand might be a great way for a brand like DJI to still get tech into banned markets. Now you might be saying, Jonathan, that sounds insane, that's not even believable. Well, this wouldn't even be the first time, allegedly. Maybe when you're done watching this video, go check out the Skyrover X1. It's pretty much a replica of the DJI Mini 4 Pro. And much like this XTRA Muse, it was identical in every way other than it might as well be just a colorway. So naturally people had questions, and reportedly when DJI was asked directly if they had any involvement, they neither confirmed or denied. It was also reported that this was even available in the Manhattan brick and mortar DJI store. So I don't know, you be the judge. So let me know, what do you think in the comments? I'm gonna go ahead and take this silly hat off, but if you wanna look at a comparison I did of the Pocket 3 and the Action 4, a couple of my favorite cameras, I definitely recommend that you watch this video right here. And guys, as always, until next time, go make something rad. See ya. Oh shit, there's even an app on this thing, and it looks exactly like another one. Something suspicious.